Today we're looking at 5.4 again. So we're doing part 2. Yesterday we looked at writing equations from point and a slope, or from two ordered pairs. Today we're going to write an equation of a line given a graph. Now, we've already learned how to find slope from a graph, right? You do rise over run. We're going to do the same thing here. So if I'm given a graph, the first thing I want to do is I want to find the slope. Remember, slope is always rise over run. If I have to go up to count my rise, remember it's positive. If I have to go down, it's negative. If I go to the right, it's positive. If I go to the left, it's negative. So my first step for number 1 is I'm going to find two pretty points. And pretty points means that you can tell what the actual point is at. They're integers. So like here, this is a pretty point. Here, this is a pretty point. This is a pretty point. This is a pretty point. This is a pretty point, etc. So I'm going to use two of my pretty points. So I'll use, just so we can see it, I'll use this as my pretty point and this as my pretty point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to count rise over run. So I'm going to start at this point, and I would have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Since I'm going down, it's a -4. Then from here, I would have to go over 2 spaces to the right. So that's a +2. So my slope is -4 over 2, which simplifies to just -2. So I have a slope. The next thing you're going to check for in your graph is if you're given a y-intercept. I'll know if I'm given a y-intercept because I'll be able to see where it crosses the y-axis. So if I look, it crosses the y-axis, or the vertical axis, at 3. So my y-intercept is 3. If I am given a slope and an intercept, I can automatically write it in slope-intercept form. I just fill out the m and the b. So this is y equals -2x plus 3. And that's my answer. So let's look at 2. First thing we always look for is our slope. So if I pick some pretty points, I have one here and one here. So I'm going to count rise over run. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a +4. I'm going over 1, 2, 3. So that's a +3. So my slope is 4 over 3. Now I look for a y-intercept. The problem is I can't tell where it crosses the y-axis. So my y-intercept is unknown. That doesn't mean we can't solve the problem. What it means is we have to pick one of our ordered pairs that we were using to find the slope. So I'll use this ordered pair. I'm going to find out what the coordinates are for the ordered pair. So it's at 6 on my x, -4 for the y. Now I am going to, since I have a slope and a point, I'm going to write it in point-slope form. So y minus y1, so that's -4, my ordered pair, equals the slope, so 4/3, times x minus x1, and my x1 is 6. Now I would solve for y. I distribute the 4/3, so y plus 4 equals 4/3 x minus 4/3 times -6 is -8. so minus 8, and then I would solve for y by subtracting 4 to get the y alone. Just be careful, negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. So my equation of the line is y equals 4/3 x minus 12. So let's look at two more examples. It's the same idea. So number 3, the first thing you always do from the graph is find the slope. So if I want to find two pretty points, there's one here, there's one here. So I would have to go up 1 and over 2. So remember, rise always goes on top, so this is 1/2. Now that fraction can't be simplified. The next thing I look for is the y-intercept. So if I look, I can tell in this case that it crosses the y-axis right here at negative 2. Since I'm given a slope and an intercept, I put it in slope-intercept form. So I have y equals 1/2 x minus 2. And that's my answer. So one more, number 4. Same thing. I'm going to find my slope first. So I have a pretty point here. I have a pretty point here. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. I am going over 1 to the left, so my run is negative 1. So my slope is 4 over negative 1. 4 divided by negative 1 simplifies to negative 4. In this case, I cannot tell where my graph crosses the y-axis. So my y-intercept is unknown. If you don't know your y-intercept, you have to pick a point on your line. So I use one that I've found for slope. This is at 2, 1. Now I'm going to write it in point slope form. So I'll do it down here where I have room. Y minus 1 equals the slope, so negative 4, times x minus 2. So now I solve for y. I distribute the negative 4. So y minus 1 equals negative 4x plus 8. And then I add 1 to both sides. So I get y equals negative 4x plus 9. And there's my answer in slope-intercept form. So that was part 2 of section 5.4 notes. Make sure you fill out the Google form, and I will see you guys tomorrow.